I'm going to show you how to make the large applique letters from Kreative Kiwi. For this I'm going to be using a 5x7 hoop, 2 layers of wash away stabiliser per hooping, a matching bobbin and thread, Q-tip, some masking tape, some pins with heads on them, my squizzers and fabrics and batting cut to size. You'll find a link to this design in the video description below, along with lots of other information such as where I get my supplies and some discount codes for you as well. You're going to start off by hooping your 2 layers of wash away stabiliser. And then you're going to pin around the top edge of your hoop, and this is going to stop your stabiliser from being pulled down between the 2 hoop parts. So take a pin, any pin with a head on it will work, place it on top of your inside hoop, push it through the stabiliser, bring it back round and back through the stabiliser again, and that will anchor it. And you're going to do that on all 4 sides of the hoop. There are 2 parts to each letter, file A and file B. So load file A to your letter into your machine, along with your matching bobbin and thread, if like me you're doing reversible both sides. And then you're going to stitch round number 1, and that's going to give you your placement outline for your batting. Place your batting over the outline and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 2 to secure it. Trim away the excess batting from around the edge of the stitch line, taking care of course not to cut your stitching. You're now going to add your fabrics, and we're going to start with the backing fabric. So turn your hoop over, place your fabric over the outline and tape it in place. Place your front fabric over the top of the batting and tape that in place as well. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 3 to secure them. Next is round number 4, and that's the quilting. If you don't want to quilt your letters, then you can skip this colour. I'm going to quilt mine, and I'm going to stay with the same matching bobbin and thread that I've already got in my machine, but you can change it to whatever colour you want. So load your thread colour for the quilting into your machine and then stitch round number 4. Trim up the excess fabric from around the edge of the stitch line, so turn your hoop over and start with the back. Next is round number 5, and that's going to do the zigzagging and the satin stitch border, so make sure that you've got your matching bobbin and thread for that loaded into your machine. And then you're going to stitch round number 5, and it's going to go all the way around here from here to here, and it's going to leave this area here because that's going to be our join in the next hooping. So the stitching for the first half of our letter is now complete, so we can free this from the hoop. Turn your hoop over and trim around the edge, taking care of course not to cut your stitching. that remains on this piece is to trim up along here, which is where our join is going to be. And we're just going to trim really close to the stitch line without cutting it, just to neaten up that edge. And that's the first half of our letter complete. We're now going to do the second half, so load your file B into your machine along with your matching bobbin and thread. Then you're going to pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 1, and that's going to give you your placement outline for the batting. Place your batting over the outline and tape it in place. Pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 2 to secure it. Trim away the excess batting from around the edge of the stitch line, taking care not to cut your stitching, of course. We're now going to add our fabrics, so turn your hoop over, place your fabric over the outline and tape it in place. Of course, if you were going to stitch this onto something, you could leave off the backing fabric. Now going to place your front fabric over the top of the batting and tape that in place as well. We're now going to stitch round number 3, and that's going to secure our fabrics to the hoop. Next is the quilting, so make sure that you've got your matching bobbin and thread for that loaded into your machine, and then you're going to stitch round number 4. Trim away the excess fabric from both back and front of your hoop, so turn your hoop over. Making sure that you've got your matching bobbin and thread for the border loaded into your machine. You're now going to stitch round number 5, and that's going to zigzag from here around to here, and then after that we will come to our join. You're now going to join your previous segment to this one. So I'm going to turn this around a little bit so I can see what I'm doing. You're going to place this stitch line here on top of this stitch line here, and then we're going to pin it in place. And making sure, of course, that you keep your pins right out of the way of the stitch line, and I'm pinning right hard up against my hoop here. I'm going to place a little bit of tape just on the edges, just to hold this very edge down. Then you're going to pop your hoop into your machine and stitch round number 6, and that's going to zigzag along this line, stitch line here, and join the 2 pieces together. Check your join. If you're happy with it, then you can go on and stitch round number 7. If you're not, unpick the zigzagging, reposition your segment, and then stitch round number 6 again. I'm happy with mine, so I'm now going to stitch round number 7, and that's going to do the decorative satin stitching. Now that that's stitched, I've removed the tape and pins. We're now going to free this from the hoop, so turn your hoop over and trim around the edge of the stitch line, taking care not to cut your stitching, of course. All it remains to do now is to dissolve the excess stabiliser from around the edge of our letter and on the back. So I've got some warm water and a cotton bud. Just dip it into the warm water and then wipe it along the edge. I'm just starting with the back here. And that's our letter complete. These are going to be great for quilts, banners, you name it. Let me know what you're going to do with yours. I hope you enjoyed this stitch along. If you did, please give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe and click the bell icon to be notified of new videos as soon as they're published. And please do share the links. Do pop along to Kreative Kiwi's Facebook group. There's always lots of ideas, help and inspiration there for everybody. And thank you very much for joining me. You'll find a link to this design in the video description below, along with lots of other information such as where I get my supplies and some discount codes for you as well.